and you. We'll start from the top. Good morning, Sophie.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you? Today we're talking about why there are more men in senior roles in recruitment, and you are a great person to ask in this field. So
I've worked in recruitment for a really long time. So recruiting recruiters. I started off doing that into agency, and then in my latter career, I started doing that internally into predominantly technology businesses. And a lot of the stuff that I do is on the senior end of recruitment. So I guess I'm in quite a good position to kind of have a bit of a view of the, skew of men versus women. And I think there's three different things really. There's my own personal perception of it, what candidates kind of tell me, and then what clients are kind of feeding back. From my own personal perspective, I think I've got 3 kids, and I think in any jobs, there is a natural pause when you go on maternity leave. Of course there is. But I think recruitment is particularly demanding. It's not a 9-to-5 job. And because of that, it's not necessarily conducive to motherhood. I know there are stay-at-home dads, of course there are, but in the main, it's really difficult. It's really difficult because when you need to speak to people, when you speak to the best people, a lot of those people you need to speak to out of office hours because they're at work. Now, and also it's very high pressure, and, parenthood is obviously high pressure. So something's got to give somewhere, and often that's the career. And I don't think that's just in recruitment. I think that happens in many careers, but I think it's particularly prevalent in sales jobs or, those kind of things. So I think even in, SaaS sales roles or, business development roles, as well as recruitment roles, all of those kind of roles, they're struggling to have females at the helm unless they've managed to climb to those ranks prior to having children, or, people are looking for those people later in their career. Do you see what I mean? It's sort of one thing or t'other. And what's really interesting about it is I'm not sure how that's changeable, because I think part of that is the decision of the person as to whether they can juggle that effectively. Do you know what I mean? It's not all just dictated by the business going, hey, and I've worked for some great people that have given me, some sense of flexibility. But it's multifaceted, because it's not only speaking to the candidates if you're in agency, and actually even if you're in project management or internal recruitment, the stakeholders might be international, they might be working different hours, so you've got to speak to someone, it's all those different nuances. That makes it difficult. If you're in agency, there's also that element of business development and networking. And often those things historically were evenings after work. You'll go meet up. Yeah. Which is fine if you're not feeling already guilty that you haven't seen your kid. Do you know what I mean? It's like, okay, well, what do I do? Do I want to go and play golf? Probably not. Do I want to go to the pub and meet people, or whatever it might be, or go, for a fun run around London, which is sort of the new trend of things? I don't think that works if you're already working long days and you want to have time with your kid. Yeah. So I don't know what the answer to it is. I think for me personally, I've worked from home for a really long period of time. Prior to the pandemic, I had flexible working, and that was something that I always have that default setting. I speak to a lot of women as well that are very much like, I was really lucky because, and actually I've kind of changed my view on that. And I think people talking about it in the market more, it's made me realise, well, they're lucky to have me too. Do you know what I mean? You sort of go through that, wow, they're actually letting me, do the and so the pandemic for me was revelationary, because what happened was, for the first time in my entire career, I didn't have to try and explain to people why I was working from home, because everybody was. All these people putting all these things on, like, excuse the kids in the background. I thought, well, I've been doing that for over 10 years. My oldest came to 10. It's not as easy as you need flexibility, you need this, you need that, it's difficult to find that balance. And I often have people sort of coming to me going, I really want, a female in a leadership role. We need that diversity. We really want to, that's who we're looking for. which is great, but that also bothers me in a different way. What I'm really enjoying in the market is speaking to female leaders who won't compromise on things. You know, they're much more kind of confident to say, this is what I need, and I know I'm good enough. So they've suddenly got this power in the market that they didn't have, because people are offering flexibility and are proactively looking for females, whether they should or shouldn't be. You know, do you know what I mean? This is a different question, but they are, and they want to balance out that diversity, which is brilliant. So what that does as a knock-on effect is give those women the power to go, I'm not putting up with this. You know, I'm going to do this. I want to do that. I want to go to the school play. I want to do that. Same for dads, I guess. But, you know, particularly for mothers. And I end up having conversations with people going, well, you know, they're lucky to have you as well. You know, I'm really lucky because my boss gives me flexibility to be able to put my kids to bed at 7 o'clock at night. It's like, yeah, 7 o'clock at night, should be able to. It's also a personal perception of women often. It's the feeling of something lesser. You know, I'm trying to be, I don't know, it's not.
Where does that come from? My goodness.
But it does. If you think about, you know, even if I think about female leaders who, you know, are in the market putting posts up, that they'll say, forgive me for putting this, or I'm really lucky to have that.
Yeah.
And that language is very different to, I'm not saying always, but I'm saying, you know, a lot of what I see, I think, wow, you've worked your ass off. Of course you've.
Yeah.
But also you need a certain tenacity and a certain mindset to be able to cope with that, because it's overwhelming. You know, being the mum is overwhelming. I mean, being a dad might be too, but
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's hard, isn't it? And you've got all of the hormones, all the emotions, all the other things to deal. You know, there's so many other things. So not only you just had your kids, now you're dealing with the next bit, which is like, I don't know, the menopause, or your hormones going mad for that. And on top of that, you're trying to hold together a whole company and be like, hey, you know, it's tricky.
And also made to feel a little bit guilty about having a career and thinking that you can continue on with a career after that.
There's still definitely that. Yeah, there's still definitely that. There's still definitely, you know, the pressure to be able to work full time, run a company, and never miss a sports day. And that's a lot. That is a lot.
Well, hopefully it's going the right direction with the remote working becoming much more of the norm.
It is, but I think there's also a tipping point back now. People are now kind of saying, gone through this period of going, anyone can have anything they like because we need to hire. And now lots of business going, actually, we need hybrid because we need that sort of touch point with our staff so that we've got a community feel again. We've got that sort of buy-in, and people are kind of worried their staff are working from home. They can easily get headhunted. They're not having that connection that they felt they were having. Not all companies, but a lot of companies. So actually, is it shifting back towards that? I don't know. Most companies now are hybrid, I think, rather than fully remote. I'm not saying everyone, but obviously there's been a lot of things in the press, you know, Alan Sugar in the press talking about everyone should get back in the office. I mean, that's an extreme example, but, you know, and I also get that too. I think there is that touch point needed for a sense of community. I'll tell you the thing that does really bother me is when companies talk about having a family feel. This is a bit of a funny one. So when people sort of say, oh, we're like a family. And I read this article that was about why you shouldn't ever say that at work, because then it sort of gives the sense that you've got such commitment to those people that it's as strong as family. So then it gives you that dodgy juxtaposition of like, but my actual family need. And I think things like that don't necessarily help with women in work. Do you know, like on the one sense, I think I get what they're trying to say. What they're trying to say is we're really supportive, we love all our staff, we care about everybody and stuff. But by putting it on that level of like, we're like a family, is sort of saying, well, if they need something for you, that's of equal value as if my children do. Community is a better word, I think. I mean, we use community, and I think community is like supportive, understanding, got your back, all those kind of things. But it's not the same as the commitments of family. I'm sure a lot of people will have different. I'd be keen to hear what other people think and whether they align with it, because it's hard to know, isn't it? But I certainly think that we're in a better place now than we were to get females in leadership than we were when I first went into the market. So that can only be good.